two small devices.
Yes.
Do they work? There you go. That's my-
Me complain not. All right, so we say to ourselves, I would like to bring this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so make a motion that we go immediately into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I need a second. Thank you. And all in favor say
Aye.
aye. Any opposed? Okay.
And the business.
And we're going to do business when we return. This executive session is for the purpose of
Student discipline.
student discipline. I have something on top of the agenda from the executive session. Whereas a student, number 8109663, has reviewed the suspension by the principal. Whereas the parents of said student have appealed the decision to the Board of Education. Now therefore, the Board of Education held a meeting for the purpose of hearing the appeal of said student. Be it resolved that after discussion, the Board of Education upholds the decision, actions, and handling of the suspension of said student. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education hereby upholds principal's suspension letter dated November 6, 2018. So we have discussion in executive session, and we have reviewed that decision out here. I need a motion to accept that.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And voting, please, Ms. Keating? Yes. And Ms. Dutton? Yes. And I will vote yes.
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 Thank you very much. So we now have the district reports. We'll start with our elementary principals.
Well, Happy New Year all. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas and great New Year. And welcome back. We've been away this is our second meeting. We missed the last one. So I got some things to report back from November for you. And going all the way back to November 15th, Mr. LaPut, Mr. Austin and Ms. Lee of the Port Jervis Rotary Club came and donated dictionaries to our third grade students. So we'd like to thank them for their donation to our third graders here. They came in, did a presentation. It was wonderful to have you here. So thank you. November 29th, Mr. Frangipani from the Lions Club of Sullivan County. He came in and volunteered his time to come and perform vision screenings on all of our pre-K to second grade students. We had 53 students screened in those grade levels, and 4 of them received referrals for eye exams. So we'd like to thank the Lions Club for coming into our school. I think that's something that they do each year, and the screening is pretty simple and easy. The kids kind of took heart to that. December 3rd through 7th, our PTA had our annual Scholastic Book Fair, so that was open, and then it concluded on the evening of our concert, winter concert on the 18th. December 13th and 14th, we had our PTA Holiday Fair here at the elementary school, and some of the doors are still left with decorations from the holidays that we did a Spirit Week here from the 17th through the 21st. With lots of doors. If you stop and see the display as you come in, you'll see some of the pictures of the doors that were all decorated for the holidays. I know Dr. Morgano, and we'll talk about our presenter that was here, Brendan Lee White. He's a motivational speaker. He spoke with our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students here, and he was at the high school for all of their grade levels there at the high school. Upcoming, well actually not upcoming, yesterday we had Eileen Weinberg from Sullivan County BOCES. She came in and did a workshop for our ELA teachers. We're going to continue her services throughout the year for our ELA curriculum. We have our fifth graders going to the Career and Tech Education Center at Liberty to learn a little bit about the type of careers that are available for them in both career and technology at BOCES. And we have a couple of big things here coming up. We have our Super Bowl week from January 28th through February 2nd, where elementary school goes against the junior, senior high school, and Mrs. Maxon. And how many of us can pick up Super Bowl or soup or any type of...
In my office.
Yeah, you get to collect them in your office, okay. And we'll have, the elementary production, as it stands right now, is scheduled for February 15th and 16th of Willy Wonka Jr. So we have that upcoming also at the elementary school. I think that was it. I think I'll leave the other couple of things that I had on my agenda for Ms. Maxon and Dr. Morgana. Yeah, it's been a lot. Okay. Any questions of anyone? Further detail?
I don't have a question, but I do want to comment on the concert. I was on the edge of my seat at the concert at Mackenzie. The fact that she had so many soloists, and then the kids went to her and asked her if they could play little songs from the band students. And then she had dancers also during one of the songs, and it just was amazing. She had a little bit of everything so the kids could show their talents. And they asked her if they could do it, and they worked really hard for it. I was very, very impressed with that concert. It was beautiful.
Very good to know, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Ms. Maxon?
Thank you. Sarah's work, by the way, here at Mackenzie is just wonderful. As a music educator myself, it's always been a joy to watch her work. At the junior senior high school, we have just completed one of our arts and education courses that we do through BOCES, and we have had delightful people in to do theater arts, and they have offered, we've had them in for 6 instruction days with 4 different teachers. And they have been here before, they do a wonderful job. And Dr. McDonald will address what Scott mentioned also about our arts and education coaster that we used yesterday for Brandon Lee White. He did 2 presentations at the high school. One was 9-12, one was 7-8. Slightly different.
There's no law on that one.
You can open it. They got it right.
We completed our SAD club did their annual coat drive that was completed before we left for Christmas vacation. Many people in the community donated gently used winter coats, and we called it Caleb's Corner because it's a great space. It's a space that kids, all our children, travel through every day because they're up there for lunch. And we had many of the coats are not with us anymore, and that's a great thing. We also had our first student mentor-mentee program meeting or celebration, and it was a breakfast. I was not able to attend. Dr. Morgano, who was the driving force behind starting that, did, and I'm sure he will speak to that. We also had our quarterly PBIS awards, and those certificates go to all the students in our junior senior high school who were referral-free for the first quarter, and some at the 85+ average in addition, some a 90+ average in the first quarter. Our fundraisers, and we had a lot of them going on, so I'm sure if people have knocked on your door, or seen you at church or wherever before Christmas. Those have been completed and they were very successful. We have one presently going on, which is our senior class with Welch's fruit things, of which Dr. Morgano is their best customer. And I'm sure they're healthy. And we have two more. It's just fruit. Fruit. Read the sugar. No. And we have two more that will start in February. One is for an 9th grade class, and the other will be for SAD. The SAD one focuses on Valentine's Day, and you can purchase carnations, and they're delivered to whoever you indicated you wanted them delivered to. And
In the school.
In the
Delivered in the school.
Yes, and I assume I'll get a dozen and a half from the superintendent. Senior class, we have 39 seniors, and we have 2 juniors who will graduate in June. So we have a total of 41. Of the 41, 33 have completed their applications and they have been sent on their merry way to colleges. And of the 33 who have applied, 10 have already received their acceptance letters. 2, we have a student, Mrs. Bunnell's daughter, who has received the Sullivan Community College President's Award for next year, which is a full ride for her. And she also happens to be one of the juniors that will graduate a year early.
Very nice.
Yeah, and Heather just loves to be noticed, you know.
There she is.
And she's here. I usually see her, she's running in this building. It's really, we also have acceptances from SUNY New Paltz, Ithaca College, Casanova, Alfred University, and also Alfred College, the College of St. Rose, the Mount, and a waitlist at Yale.
That's wonderful.
We are really proud
Yeah.
of the class. It's just super good, yeah. Because none of these went early decision, but it is unusual to have this many be notified already. Also, the senior class news. The senior class has really worked very, very hard and are very close to raising, by fundraising, the $11,000 that they need to take the overnight trip that the board approved for them to Boston. We received 3 bids for that program. Not only were we able to accept the lowest bid, but it is also by far the best hotels, transportation, supervision. It's CD Trips, which is located in Liberty, New York, and is run by a retired music educator, Mr. Gary Siegel. And the business has grown so rapidly that he has just hired in the fall, 2 more people into the business, and one of whom will accompany us on the trip. One of them is Jack Shaw, who is the retired, long-standing principal at Liberty High School, and Strassman, I'm sorry. And the other is Linda Trapani, who I worked with for years as the 7 through 12 PE coordinator in Monroe Woodbury. We don't know which one we've been assigned yet, but it's great. John will speak to Brandon Lee's presentation yesterday. Democrat is coming next Tuesday to the district for their school highlight edition that we will be in. They're going to,
That's
50.
after the school scene.
Say again, Tim?
School scene.
School scene. Hey, I don't have and they're going to be with us at high school arrival, this arrival at this building. They're going to be in our transportation department, and they're going to see lots of classes here and also at the high school. And they'll be with us for the day. And the 25th of this month, our entire 8th grade will be visiting VOTEC at BOCES for a half a day for their, the same type of program that Scott's students are going to attend. It's the program that's the next step in encouraging those kids who are interested to be doing what they need to do to be eligible for the VOTEC program in their junior year.
And some of the elementary go too? Is that what you're saying?
No, they.
We're doing
our
the program
elementary-
also.
They visit,
Yep.
so they start early.
So they know what's.
Yes.
Okay.
And then they do it again in 8th grade. So the kids have at least 2 pre-making decision visits to VOTEC, which is wonderful. And it shows with the enrollment that we have this year at Eldred in VOTEC. It's up dramatically and it's wonderful.
Well, there used to be a cap.
Yes.
Right.
And
We don't
now
have a cap. It's
we
one of the
lifted
things
that.
we choose to spend money on.
And the kids and the programs they're taking and how well they're doing is
There's a, just to stick it in here, there's a program at BOCES called Innovative Design, where they use the 3D printers, and amazing what they learn. That's, you know, it's college level stuff, it's work related. They can move into the job force with those kinds of skills, and we're teaching at BOCES for, you know, young kids, with credit. It's amazing.
absolutely. And because of improved enrollment this year at VOTEC, they reinstated their welding program,
Okay, good.
which had gone away. And it's not easy to find someone who has all the other credentials besides the welding credentials for the course. So because of the increase in the welding program, they were able to find an instructor.
There are many of our students that can go straight into the workforce happily and well paid after BOCES training. So, VOTEC training.
There's an
Yes.
interesting addition next year. I noticed on our initial service contract for BOCES of the adding air drone technician is going to be one of the VOTEC programs next year.
Technician.
Yep.
That's just, you know,
And
was it, you know, that
Aerial
that
drone,
statement
sorry.
that they always, I always heard when I was working in education,
That was cool.
that kindergartners this year will be employed in jobs that don't have names yet. And that has been true for 20 or more years. Air drone technician might be one of those new names, you know? I don't think we had anybody in my class that went into that. You know what I'm saying?
It was new. It doesn't even have a COSER number yet. It's a to be determined COSER number, and I was reading it and I said, that's interesting.
The kids should be so
That that's going to be a program they offer next year.
It is the
just in the area of security, where we're using drones.
It's in the news all the time. Yeah, right, exactly.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you. Questions for the high school?
Principal Maxon, maybe I missed it, the scrub club?
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course, it's in between my scribbling. Yes, we have 13 students that are in Scrub Club. And it's sponsored by BOCES. It's after school, and it is geared towards students who are looking into the health fields. And hopefully, that will help with the kids who their senior year are eligible to do revisions if they've got the academic credentials. And the BOCES programs, a lot of the Scrub Club meetings are actually off our campus. They do field trips, like we have one going out, which was canceled because of snow, to a large dental office We have another one scheduled for the hospital, and BOCES does all the transportation. They send a bus to us, and then they transport the kids back here, because it's after Our Lady's. And the parents pick them up, and it's very, very well organized.
Hmm.
So we're really close.
There is no cost.
There is no cost.
Because they are also promoting attendance in their programs, knowing that these are fields that kids need to get into, but just like us, they haven't heard of many of these opportunities.
Not
or names
just-
of programs.
and
Like,
not
what's
just-
innovative design, why do they go do
Right.
that? Well, it's 3D printers, but I don't know a lot about it. And it took a while to find a teacher for innovative design. Same thing, I'm sure, with aerodrome technician, you know, that's not a teacher certification from,
Not that we know of yet.
no.
But besides New Visions, it also offers them a chance to get it, because BOCES has an LPN number. And, you know, you can have a senior graduating from high school who will sit 2 weeks later to take their state boards, which is unbelievably impressive. And they also, the Animal Tech program, which does a lot with local veterinarians and does a lot of the VOTEC work is done on site, because they do large animals, which sometimes is very upsetting to our kids when they find out it's not just kittens and puppies, it's large cows, et cetera. But,
The real world.
yeah, cows and sheep.
Yeah.
But the enrollments are increasing, and so Scrubs Club is relatively new.
Yeah. It's a
It's
good number,
only their
13.
second or
That's
third
a,
year.
it's a nice number.
Yeah.
It's part of the way that this small school maintains its viability, but also its relevance to the future for our kids. So that when, our goal is not their graduation, our goal is their futures, to be ready for their futures when they leave here. Of course, graduation is a piece of that, but we're not done. Our whole goal is to prepare them for the world that's out there and the jobs that are out there. And in many ways, a small school, we can't have a aerodrome technology program here with the 3 kids that might be interested, but we choose to spend money to send those kids. I don't know if we have 3, I'm just making that number up. But we choose to send those children to BOCES. That's one of the things that we feel makes our high school very relevant and very viable for such a small school. So, any other questions?
I would just like to add with the high school, I think you should keep an eye out for the global fair, just with Mr. Lance and the students that are in the 10th grade, and just the amount of money I've already spent on my son's. I think, you know, just like that science night is very engaging, even as just an adult, but I'm really looking forward to the global fair. And then I also would like to say about Mr. Nagison and the concert for the junior senior high school. He did the choruses and the bands on his own, and it was wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I hope that he will always do the locomotive song. That's my absolute favorite that he does with the senior band. But I mean, those kids knew that he was by himself, and the kids too. They really stepped up to the plate.
They were part of it.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
And if you were there, and even I would not have heard them in their last rehearsal, because it's the only time Brian did it. But he had both choruses and the senior high band. And when they brought out the track hurdles and stacked them, I said, he's going to go up there. That's what he's going to do. And he did. And not unusual, because he can't see the band if he's not above the chorus. But I wanted to go and stand there and say,
Spot him.
please
Yeah,
don't
me too.
step
My
back.
heart went out of my chest a little bit myself.
He practiced it, and thank goodness the practices worked, but it really was good.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have athletic director intern report. We
to highlight the archery club. About 4 years ago, the archery club, or students were interested in archery, so they actually went to Mr. Varley. Mr. Varley did a little research and found a program from the DEC, who partnered with Mark Matthews Archery, and their program gets schools to have archery in the schools, so they give students, or schools, 12 bows, a bow rack, a curtain, two boxes of arrows, 5 targets, and all the training for free for us to teach kids how to safely shoot a bow, a compound bow. So Ms. Stringer, myself, Mr. Varley, and the other 2 PE teachers got trained about 4 years ago now. We're continuing to teach that in phys ed, and that interest carried over into the archery club. So for the past 2 years, we've been taking some kids to some tournaments. Hopefully, we get more kids involved into the archery club, so it's more than just, right now we have about 8 kids that come faithfully, and then it's kind of like a revolving door. If they have basketball, they may not come, but as soccer ends, some of those kids might come over to us. So just wanted to highlight those kids. And our top archer right now is Patrick Kinney, who's shooting the 263, and 300 is the top. So they shoot 3 rounds from 10 meters, and then shoot another 3 rounds from 15 meters. So
Is this similar to the Olympic archery that you say?
that's
I
a
don't
little
mean similar, but you know what I mean, within the same learning skills.
Yeah, and it's all, the great thing about it is that it's, there's no competition amongst really others, it's your self-competition. And Ms. Stringer and I were actually just talking about another student Tuesday at practice, because we were saying how his scores kind of fluctuate, and we were saying a lot of his is mental, like he gets hard on himself, and so it's interesting to watch. So you don't have to be the best athlete to be a good archer. So we're looking to possibly go to 2 tournaments, one next month in Utica and another one in Syracuse. So, and they are all considered state level competitions. So if they were in the top, I think it's in the top 50 archers, then can go on to nationals, which is held in Kentucky. It's a huge warehouse, and all you see are targets. It's pretty impressive. So, just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you very much for the information.
I have my student report, and I have Mr. Gass asked me to go over the athletic report too. So I'll get the student report out of the way first. I was going to mention the winter concert at the high school. I was in it, and it was really nice, good night, seeing everyone. It was especially cool with the one song where the choruses and the senior band got to play all together. It was a nice moment. And then still back in December, I was going to mention the senior class. We decorated the main hallway. We picked out our tree, cut it down and everything on parent-teacher conference day, so we wouldn't be disrupting any classes, in the hallway. It was really great. We got to bond as a class. I think it brought us really close together, gave us time together. Ms. Maxon did say that there was no fundraisers, but Student Council kind of has an ongoing fundraiser that's kind of throughout the rest of the year. We're selling Eldredge Central School lanyards for $4. They'll probably be around all year. We have a bunch, so if you want any, just see a member. And then in December, right before the break, the last day, the last period, 9th period, all the grades got together and we did a holiday sing-along. So we played the music in the background, and each class prepared a classic Christmas carol, and we sang it to every class. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people were shy, but once they got up there and got going, it was a good time. And then last thing, the last upcoming thing that I have on here at least is the National Honor Society is gonna be having a blood drive February 8th. I think after school until 7 p.m., so if anyone wants to come donate their blood, we'll be there.
Are you still
11 to 7.
involved in getting a scholarship, or are you on any levels where you could?
We're almost reaching, I think, 25.
I think at 19.
Yeah.
At 19.
Yeah, I mean,
30.
25, I think, for the first level of scholarship, or just 20, I'm not sure, but we're really close to that first one. And then if we get up to, I think it's 50 is the next level, it gives you more opportunity for scholarships, because I think more students get it. So, I think we have that one, I think we were planning on having another one too, so hopefully we have a good turnout this one, good turnout next one, we'll be able to make it. And that's all we have for really my student report. And then for our sports report, we had varsity girls soccer and varsity girls cross country got the Scholar Athlete Team Award. So that's these plaques. The school and everyone on the team that qualified gets little pins that have the little slogan on it and stuff. And basically, the team had to have a cumulative average, like GPA average of a 90 or better. So these two teams made it. We had a couple of individuals on the boys cross country and football and soccer team that got the individual award, but the teams didn't qualify. Winter sports, basketball, track, wrestling, they're still going on. So if anyone wants to come to any meets or anything, just look on, I think the website has them posted. And also, just recently, the varsity wrestling team got their first ever Section 9 team championship in school history just yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, they'll be competing in the state championship, the team state championship on January 26th in Onondaga Community College. So if any of you guys want to come on to that, or maybe
It's a good try.
yeah, it's a little bit of a drive, but if you see a wrestler or anything, wish them well. But yeah, any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Brandon Lee White.
Yes.
What kind of feedback did you get from the students on that?
Oh, I think a lot of students really appreciated it. They really, a lot of people said that, like, a lot of motivational speakers are kind of like boring, very dry, Some of them can do that and not as engaging, but the way he kind of did it was got the kids involved and made them actually listen. So they really enjoyed that. He's like a good storyteller and got his point across in that way, which was nice to see.
So, I think it was a positive thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thank you.
I have a question for Kelly.
Yes.
Other Sullivan schools have archery?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There are a couple, but I'm not recalling which ones right now.
Okay.
I think Sullivan West does.
Sullivan West.
Say again?
Yeah.
Sullivan West.
Sullivan West.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Kelly or Hannah? Thank you very much for the report. And then we have a district treasurer's report. And you did not let Archie. Did not let him. Go ahead, district treasurer, Mr. Payne.
Okay, so getting back to business from December, you'll see on your agendas, you'll be voting to approve the audit report. I had given out copies prior to the December meeting. We have an unmodified opinion, which means that they didn't find any material errors, that we don't have any internal control weaknesses that they thought that we needed to address in terms of reporting. We did end the year with a negative $65,878 fund balance in the general fund. That was something that we knew was going to happen, so it's not news, but otherwise the results, we've talked about them before, they're as expected. There were no issues on the audit report. Moving over to state aid, All of our state aid forms have been approved, our funding has been approved. Next year, we are going to have a lower transportation and building aid reimbursement rate. It's going from 45.5 down to 38.8%. That's in part due to an increase in land value, and then the other part is due to average daily attendance, weighted average daily attendance, which weights high school attendance higher. Number of things can affect that, enrollment, whether kids are showing up, not. But overall, the state feels that we are, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing it, land wealthy. And so they feel that we can share a higher burden of the transportation costs. So overall, our transportation aid this year is still going to be higher than it was last year. So it's, instead of $391, it'll be $401, but not quite as high as I had hoped it would be. We did miss some days. We had 175 days of session instead of 180. The state waived that. So we won't be losing any aid for missing the power outages. Yep.
Thank goodness for that, okay.
So that was cleared. Now, I'm sorry.
Good work getting that.
Yeah, thank you. So overall, like I said, the state aid is higher, but it's only very slightly higher because of the aid reimbursement. Tax collection had ended at later than usual, of course, at the end of November. I would have reported that on the December meeting. We issued refunds to anybody who had an overpayment greater than $5. I'm now issuing refunds to anybody who had requested it who had under $5. Hopefully we can put that behind us and not have any issues like that. I've spoken with the county about obtaining a new vendor. They have 2 vendors that they're speaking to. My understanding is that the towns are not having a good experience either with the current real estate tax vendor. So we will be switching. I just don't know who yet. Budget time is coming up, so at the next meeting, we will be doing a budget presentation. So for now, what I've done is I've started going over where we're at on our current budget, how things are moving along, whether we're on track to what we had thought was going to happen. At the beginning of the year, we had done personnel cuts that we had originally estimated at $850,000. After doing some additional calculations, the actual number was $886,242. There were 6 additional departures through retirement or just people getting new jobs elsewhere, and there were 7 full-time additions. So we added 1 of the positions back. That was the kindergarten teacher. We had additional kindergarten students come in and we had to do that program. So after retirement incentives were paid, additional retirement health insurance was incurred, and any additional employment is calculated in, the total amount of the cuts remaining are $777,207.36. That includes all additional payments and employment. So those funds, in the previous years, we were spending between $300,000 to upwards of $1 million more than we were receiving in revenue. These cuts allowed us to live within our means with a very small cushion to endure some kind of unexpected costs. So far, we are still on target, and barring any unforeseen circumstances, which of course could happen between now and then, we have should put between $200,000 and $300,000 back into the fund balance this year, which would give us a fund balance of around $240,000 at the end of the year. I can tell you that last February, my estimate came within $40,000 of the actual result. So January and February estimates can be fairly accurate because most of the expenses, the unpredictable expenses, occur over the winter and in the summer. just to give you some background on our fund balance and why we made the cuts to begin with. The total fund balance in 2010 and 11 was $5,646,503. At the end of 2017-18, we were down to $1,302,000. So that was about 4.3 million less than 10-11. In 2010 and 11, our total revenue was $17,300,000, about, not including transfers and bonds. In 2017-18, it was $17,400,000. So our revenue was only $100,000 higher 7 years later. Taxes in 2010 and 11 were $10,090,000, and 2017-18 were $10,250,000. So they're about $160,000 higher 7 years later.
So we're living in the past.
That's the gist of what I'm getting at here, yes. The total expenditures have gone up less than 1% annualized spending over 7 years, 0.9%. So our spending has remained largely the same. And to put an idea as to whether it's a revenue problem or an expense problem, I have the comptroller's report here, and it shows the spending per pupil in the county. We have the third lowest in the county. Ours is $30,279. The only two school districts that are lower than ours are Fallsburg and Monticello, which are much larger districts. They have economies of scale. And they're not much lower. Fallsburg's is $29,576, and Monticello's is $28,700. But more interesting to me in terms of that is that the smaller school districts, Roscoe and Livingston Manor, which have student bases that are more comparable to ours, are spending $34,422 and $39,000 per student respectively. The point being is that we're not spending lavishly or overspending compared to the rest of the county or even to larger school districts.
Again, this is.
We're very comparable.
We're lower outside of our county as well. We're spending a lot more around this.
Absolutely, yes. And I can get those numbers for you at the next board meeting when I do the budget presentation. But for this particular one, just to drive home the point that it's not as much a spending problem.
I don't need those numbers. I know from seeing the newspaper and stuff what it is around the state.
All of this is to really drive home my recommendation is I think that this year we should exceed the tax cap to bring our revenue in line with our expenditures and to really start healing. The budget cuts stabilized us. If you want to use an analogy of somebody who is injured and bleeding, we've sealed the wound and we're stable, but now we need to heal.
Now we're reading.
Well, we just need to heal, yes. And my recommendation would be that we exceed the tax cap, and Dr. Morgano will talk more about specifics on that in the coming budget meetings. I will talk more about that as well.
And for the clarity, for everybody's clarity, could you just define what exceeding the tax cap means? Just, from what we would normally pay, what the law says we can not pay, but raise, and then how much we'll know, we don't know quite how much because we're waiting on numbers. But just to define the tax cap, like someone said, what does that mean?
We can okay. So right now, preliminarily, I have us with a 2.23% tax cap. And how the tax cap is designed is really not to be able to keep up with inflation. The tax cap is the lesser of 2% or inflation. So if inflation is 2.46, you can raise taxes 2%. If inflation is 3, you can raise taxes 2%. The additional numbers are for growth in the tax base. So if a new company comes in, gets a higher assessed value, they'll increase the amount that you can increase taxes proportionally to your new assessed values. And then you can have certain exclusions for capital projects. Ours didn't contribute very much to it this year, which is why we're at a 2.23%. We're right around that 2% number. But it was designed to not keep up with
We
inflation.
have to stay within that tax cap unless we choose, like we are doing.
Yes.
To see the tax cap, which requires a higher vote, right?
Correct. It will require a 60% vote instead of 50, a supermajority, they call it. And I would recommend we increase over the tax cap by 4.95% is my recommendation.
That's the max.
That's 4.95% is the max.
We're not increasing it over the tax cap.
No, we are not. We're doing it in
Max
total.
is 4.95%.
That is the total tax increase, would be 4.95%.
So from 2.23 to 4.95.
Correct.
So we're basically going over,
2.72 is what we're going over it.
right.
And
I
that
just want
difference
that-
Is what I would recommend you do.
For a supermajority to approve.
Correct.
We're gonna increase it 2.7.
And we're going to, probably next month, be able to share with you what that looks like for a house that's worth $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. So how many pennies, because it's under $1, how many pennies difference that would mean to your daily, like, per day? I don't mean it's under $1. Per day, it's less than well less than $1. And we're gonna get the exact numbers for you. And we're also waiting on finalization from the state on a lot of things, right?
Yeah, I will need the executive budget from them.
Yeah. So we can give you actual numbers as far as what you would pay now, and what you would pay with the exceeded tax cap. So if we vote in yes and get the supermajority, what it would cost you compared to what it would cost you to have a regular passing budget. That makes sense. Any more, Kayla?
If you have any questions.
Questions from the board?
You said that attendance affects the aid that we get.
Yes.
Just talking to Ms. Maxon and Mr. Kraft, sorry. Do we have something in place to help with the attendance in regards to the students, like incentives or?
We have both incentives at the high school, and we also have in place a program whereby once a student has, in a quarter, has reached 5 absences, whether that be legal or illegal, it's an automatic generation of a letter from me informing parents, even though parents obviously know when their children are absent from school. And hopefully, yes. And a different letter is generated when the student reaches, Heather, help me, 8, 75 goes to 8, and then 13. When it gets, the 13 letter, besides informing the parent, also explains to the parent that at that level, there could be other action taken by the school district relative to the student's attendance, because student attendance is a legal mandate, and that legality actually falls on parents, and it could generate what's called a Quinn's petition. People who need supervision. Those are rare, but they do occur. What we talked about today is many times parents will call us and just let us know that their child is going to be absent from school, which is very helpful. But we don't presently have a program in place where we call parents ahead of time. In other words, once we do first period attendance, and we have to do period by period attendance now, the parents call to let them know that their child is not in attendance. Rarely is that a surprise. Occasionally, it is, and it, I would suggest, generally occurs with older kids. Many times, kids drive. So that's something that we discussed today in an administrative meeting, and it can also be done, and I didn't know this until today, robocalling for that. I'm used to having the actual call for every student. Unless we know, sometimes we know ahead, parents call us and say, for example, a parent decides to extend a vacation or whatever, they let us know that. And you have elementary school?
Our PBIS this year decided that they'd come up with some type of incentive for the kids to have perfect attendance by classroom. So they put up the grade level and like first grade, and then every day they get a perfect attendance. They color in one of the letters so you can go around the building and see the perfect attendance that's happened in the classrooms. But what we found out is that we've kind of instructed perfect attendance is just that, kids that are here from the time in the morning to the time at the end of the day. So a couple of times, I've heard some people say, you can't pick up your child today. We have perfect attendance. Can you just wait until the end of the day? So, but I do know that that doesn't impact our attendance rate. It just impacts the PBIS things that we have going on in the building. So how to get kids here, I think there's a couple of things that I know that we can do better. When students leave the district, we don't typically drop them until we get something from another district. And there has been a requirement that I found out other schools allow parents to sign their children out. You can drop them at that time, but you're required to follow up with the district that they're going to make sure that they have re-enrolled. So on most of those occasions, every student that leaves here, that might save 3 or 4 days, at least in our numbers for attendance. And so I didn't realize, that was, Caleb caught me off guard because I wasn't sure that I'd never heard this in a conversation that schools were actually had that 95% until Lisa kind of brought that up about why other school districts have attendance officers.
And it's tied to our actual budget money.
Yes.
And so that's something that, I don't know if it's different than past years that has come up this year, or if it's
Well, we're
just
about,
on top of things.
I don't recall ever being around,
96.
yeah, 95 or 96%.
I also related to state tests.
Right.
And attendance, but I did not realize that we could be penalized
So,
as a school.
but I also know that when you add other grade levels, our pre-K and kindergarten groups have very poor,
Do they?
oh yeah, they're like seniors in the springtime. So, you know, those two things really impact when you
That
have,
parents don't value.
when you
Well,
have,
there's a lot of people say, well, we go on vacation this year, because next year, you know, it'll be real school.
Or.
yeah. So,
Well, I think it's important for
But it's an
parents to know
average.
that it does affect our state aid,
Mhm.
not just affect them. I mean, it affects their education, of course, they're going to be in school to learn and whatever, but it also affects the aid that we get for the whole district.
yeah.
I have two things. I think, Caleb, you should elaborate on what the cost factor was of saving those 6 days that we had no power to the storage.
Oh,
Oh, that would have been $60,000.
$60,000.
Yeah, it's about $10,000. It's $20,000 a full day, $10,000 for each. So we had 1 elementary school day short, and we had 5 high school days short. Of course, the high school lost power much longer. So you lose $10,000 for each day, 6 altogether.
So that was very good work on his part.
Yeah, they waived that for us.
My second thing is, if we're gonna roll this budget out in February, I think you'd all talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, and tell them to come to the meeting, to hear the facts, not the gossip. There's rumors going around out there right now, we're gonna raise the budget 25%. It's not even close. So I think to hear the truth and hear what we're really gonna do, it would be nice to fill this room. They can hear it from the horse's mouth or the sources, or however you wanna say it.
They'll put it up there.
Yeah,
But I think-
oh yeah, no, this is gonna be, like the budget presentations,
I
yeah,
think
there'll be
they,
a
I
smart board, it'll
think
be. out.
everybody needs to come and hear it. It's a big year for us here.
It's Valentine's Day, so bring your buddies.
Your Valentine.
Yeah, bring your Valentines to the Valentine's Day board meeting.
This is gonna set the bar where Eldred Central School is gonna be someday. So I think it's pretty important that everybody comes and hears the facts.
And you'll have an opportunity to Saturday if you like this.
Yes.
I'll be here from
Is the play, is the elementary school
Excuse
play
me?
here?
Let's lay it louder.
Is the elementary school play here? Not till February.
Yeah, but you said 14th, and the
I
play
was
is the 15th
incorrect then, it
and
might have been the
16th.
15th and 16th, if I said 14th.
And it is here, the play.
Yeah, our play
Friday,
is,
Saturday.
Well, I'm
We
just
have-
asking because normally you would be rehearsing the day before, that's why I
Friday,
asked.
Saturday is the
February.
yeah, they'll be rehearsing.
Well, we're meeting this Saturday, January.
No, she's
board
talking
meeting.
She's talking
Oh,
about
the
the
board
board
meeting,
meeting.
oh, I'm sorry, oh, yeah. You're gonna.
But the meeting for the public is that same day? At the board meeting, you're not having a separate meeting?
We are having a separate meeting
You are.
this Saturday.
This Saturday?
Dr. Morgana is having a meeting.
Right, we're gonna have an informal meeting
Okay,
of maybe,
Just me and Scott will be here.
we're gonna talk about the budget, you know,
this Saturday here,
this Saturday here in the library.
in the library.
Some people
That's off
can't,
the record, it's not recorded, it's not a board
right,
meeting.
it's an
We're not-
informal
No, but it's
meeting.
for the public to attend.
For
You're
the
saying
public to
yes?
attend, ask
Any
questions.
questions you have?
Some
Okay.
people may not be able to make the night meeting, they work
Right.
nights. Some people don't like to stand up with a bunch of people around comfortable. Come, roundtable discussion, talk about the budget and the demographic study, right?
Yeah, whatever anybody wants.
What everybody wants to talk about.
Can we change the location of the board meeting, because they're gonna wanna do the rehearsal here?
Go to-
Still that late? like
I don't
7 o'clock
know,
after school,
I don't know if
yeah.
there's gonna be a rehearsal on Thursday night. We might be giving the kids a break
I was just saying.
before the show.
And if you rehearse, don't you rehearse after school anyway, not at night?
Yeah.
So I think you're okay.
I think it'll be okay.
I think on February agenda, we have a brief little synopsis of our play
Scott,
in
you know,
February.
if they need this room,
We can take it, we'll let you know,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Any other questions for Peter? All right. We are up to our superintendent's report.
well, you heard about Brandon Lee White, his videos on Facebook that will give you a good idea of what message he delivered to the kids. I'd like to thank Lisa, who got Brandon Lee White to come to our school district and made all the, found him, made all the arrangements and made it happen. Thank you.
Good job.
The message was own it, and he had the kids actively involved. And before each session, whenever I get a chance, I tell the kids they need to take care of each other, that we find out if a kid is depressed, angry, going to do something irrational from other kids. It's a small school district, it's not General Motors, and these kids know each other for years, and they need to help and support each other. And I give them that message whenever I can. I told them that to all the high school kids again yesterday, and to the elementary kids that we meet. And I think our kids do look after each other. It's a very cohesive student body. And it was great having Brandon here, and I'm going to have Brandon speak to our faculty and staff on opening day in August 29th, I think that is, for our faculty meeting as a morale booster to begin the year. We have the full demographic study report, which there'll be a link tomorrow, Lisa, to that report on our website. A couple of interesting things about the report. You know, I've heard people say, people are leaving Eldred. Well, the population in Sullivan County between 1990 and 2016 went down 15.7% in the whole county. Eldred went down 15.6, Monticello went down 27.7, Sullivan West went down to 21.1. So it's a county phenomenon, it's not an Eldred phenomenon. And I think that's an important point. People aren't leaving Eldred, they're leaving Sullivan County, or not staying in Sullivan County. So what's the impact educationally? For the elementary, there's very little impact for over the next 10 years in terms of the number of sections needed. Because if you have 35 kids, you need 2 sections. If you have 55, you need 2 sections. The breakage isn't under 2 for the most part, except for a couple of exceptions. In 2025, they anticipate 1 less section in each grades 1 through 6 and pre-K to 6. And at the high school, you still have to offer all the required courses. You can't offer less than that. So people have said, well, isn't it an alternative to tuition kids to another school district? So we looked into that. The difference in cost would be an additional $328,000 if we sent them to a local school that's the cheapest of the 3 alternatives.
That includes the transportation?
That includes additional buses and drivers that would be needed in order to facilitate that need. So I think we have a precious commodity here in Eldred. And I don't think tuitioning kids out of district is not fiscally sound or sound for the community, and it's not necessary. The impact, I think we're going to lose 72 students over the next 10 years. I think that was the total figure.
Yeah,
And
and then 4:30.
after 5, they can project pretty accurately 5 years out because they have births from birth to kindergarten. Beyond 5, it's shakier. So as you look at the demographic study, I think you can count on the first 5 years. After that, it's more of an educated guess. But the full report will be available tomorrow morning on the website.
Can I just have a question? Do they account for, say, possible people moving in or moving out? When I know they have the birth rates, but what about people that are moving in, say, because it's become more attractive with the casino or the whatever, the kinds of things that are trying to help Sullivan County? Do they have a way of doing that?
They were aware of the casino and all those factors, so whatever they included in there is based on all that. The strategic plan for the school district was recently completed today, and this will be available on the website as well. The essence of the strategic plan is, for instance, Chromebooks. If we wait until they're all 5 years old, we'll have to replace every Chromebook in the school district. You need to replace on average about 20% of your technology each year so that you don't wind up 5 years from now saying we need $1 million for technology. There has to be a plan for replacing tractors, lawnmowers, textbooks, and in the plan there's a plan for all of those expenditures so that it's done in a strategic manner, and I don't leave somebody a bill 5 or 10 years from now that they can't meet. So that's also going to be a link starting tomorrow. And if anybody has a question and they want to come Saturday and ask in person, you can do that. You can call me, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have about the plan. Working with the Teachers Association, we established a Professional Studies Academy. And the essence of this is that teachers will be teaching teachers, and I think we have a wealth of knowledge among our faculty. We can bring in people from the outside down the road, but initially, I think we'll use our own faculty and staff to provide service to each other. There's something called CTLE hours that are needed by people with the newest certifications, and this will be an opportunity for them to get those hours locally. We completed the academic calendar for next year. It's pretty much the same as the BOCES option 1, which I endorsed. And it has us starting the day after Labor Day, will be the first day of school. Our conference day will be in August. And that is done because we have to complete 990 hours at the high school and 900 hours at the elementary. And we need as many days in school as we can get. As I said, Mr. Halleck and I will be here Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll be in the library. Any questions that you have, by then, Caleb will give me the average increase between the 2.23 and 4.95 for a $100,000 assessment, 200, 300, can you do that?
And the 50s in between.
And 50. I'd like for people to know in terms of dollars and cents, how much more it will cost them to exceed the budget. And if you can't make it Saturday, we'll put that out on the website before the next board meeting. So we'll be able to compute that pretty quick. Because there is a lot of misinformation. Caleb got a letter from a concerned resident that said, I know taxes are going up over 25%. I don't know where they get it from, but that's why we wanted to share the facts with you tonight, because the facts are much more palatable than the rules.
Questions?
In regards to tuitioning students out, just, it's not the parents that would be paying it, it's the whole community, right? It'll be-
They would still have a tax bill, I think.
I think some people think if we tuition the kids out, that'll lower my tax bill because it will be.
Right.
We still are responsible for educating them, whether they're educated here or in Monticello.
Yeah, I was out to dinner and somebody had approached me about it and they said, well, I don't have kids, so this will lower my tax bill. And I said, no, it won't. And I think that that's also a misconception out there that if we tuition the kids, it's going to cost more.
The cost to the school district is the same. We won't teach the kids, but we'll still educate the kids. And so, and we'll still bus them, we'll still, transportation will be involved. And so the costs then all become the other school district's costs that we pay for. And their costs are higher because we're better at this. As Caleb has just shown, in a lot of ways, we're more frugal than most of the other school districts. And so we're doing a good job of keeping our funds down, but we wouldn't have any less. We'd have more if we tuition our kids.
I've already picked Jen Bensker up from money. Met her at a dinner and told her I'm coming to your office with an empty bag and need you to fill with cash. She was concerned. My wife said, well, he's the superintendent of an elderly school. She was relieved. I'm going to recommend tomorrow to the BOCES superintendent that we have a legislative breakfast in Sullivan County, the way they have in Rockland, Orange, Westchester, and Long Island, where we meet with the legislators that impact us. We explain to them what our financial situation is, what our needs are educationally, and put on a presentation for the legislators. And then the legislators get to speak about what they can do to help us. That worked very well in the counties I worked in before. I don't know why Sullivan never did it, but that's going to be my recommendation tomorrow at the BOCES meeting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Questions from the board? All right, my board report is really small. I'm not going to speak to the numbers because obviously they're better spoken to by our officials in charge of that. I do know that in the past I spoke about exceeding the cap, quote unquote, in order to raise the fund balance. There was a piece in there that I misspoke about or just didn't mention that I understood but didn't speak to, and that is that we exceed the cap in order to meet next year's budget. And then when we've met next year's budget, if there is funding left over, we can raise our fund balance. So in other words, if you do have a good year at home in your own budget, you save money, you put it aside. You get a little bulk of something and you put it aside. That's what I meant. We are not exceeding the tax cap in order to fund the fund balance. We are funding the budget, and that is the point. This year, we get to do a little bit of that already. Last year, we didn't get to do any of that. So we are trying to get, as Caleb so eloquently said, healing. And this is the process of healing that we feel that we need to do. But I just wanted to clarify that because I was misunderstood.
And there's always new requirements. Next year, there's a requirement for elementary guidance. We have to have guidance services available from pre-K to 6. And
There's no money for that. It's an unfunded mandate.
Has to include college planning.
planning for 6th graders. And, you know, the concept is great, but it's another unfunded mandate. So I added to our BOCES budget 2 days a week for counseling. That's hopefully that will do it. If not, we'll have to spend more. But we ideally could use 2 guidance counselors. We had 2, and now we have 1. So we may facilitate that through BOCES, but it's just another example. The state comes up, and that's why we need the legislative breakfast, because we need to tell these folks, when you have a great idea, there should be money attached to it. Special education was a great idea when they did IDEA. It was supposed to be funded at close to 100%. It's still a pittance of what they give us for special education. And special education is not cheap. And I would not be, having been a special ed director and a special ed teacher, I know that these kids need those services. It would be nice if the federal government stepped up and provided the money they promised in 1975.
Because they continue to add unfunded mandates within special ed as well.
Oh, yeah.
And that, raises our costs without getting any extra money from the state. So.
And Dr. Morgano, I think you said, Dr. Relea, it's submitted, hasn't been passed by the legislature yet, but she wants all non-public schools to be assessed.
By us.
By us, yeah.
And we have to do it.
Yep.
If we have a
I would
non-public
have to
school
go
in our
and
district.
assess the schools.
And so we will have to expend funds to assess.
They haven't told us yet how we're going to assess, because maybe it's not just, maybe someone has to go from this, that, and the other.
Has to be an on-site visit, I know that much.
Yes, it does. And somehow or other, that doesn't fall under state ed's Office of Accountability. Yeah.
I also wanted to take this moment of time on my report to emphasize the issue of attendance, because we forget about it, kind of go along with it, and it's a day here, or it's a day there. But we are being impacted negatively by the attendance of our students, and I would ask both principals to think, not that you're not now, but to think of, get your staff involved in some way of freshening up the idea of good attendance, great attendance, perfect attendance, whatever you want to call it. But let's find new ways to get kids in school, because if they're not in these seats, that's part of our preparing them for doing all this that we do. If they don't go to BOCES, we're paying the same amount of money for those programs at VOTEC as if they show up or don't show up. So let's help them see the real world that way as well. Attendance is a viable concern in the workforce, so it certainly should be for us. So I would ask you both to think, come up, think, more.
Can I add to that? I think that it's beyond just the kids' attendance, I think it's also faculty's attendance.
Attendance can be, sick leave is very often considered, it's my personal time and I will do as I choose with it. And there's nobody that's going to change that, and we're not going to try to change that, we don't want to. But we also want the understanding that children do not learn at the same rate without their teacher teaching them, no matter how good the plans are. And so that's a message that has to go out all over, because education and faculty have had this problem. It's a nationwide problem. And maybe it's a, I don't know about other businesses, but it's certainly a problem with education. So, yes.
Is there also an additional mandate that has come down from the state regarding observation of administrators through the use of a consultant? Or is that?
Not that I've heard, but it sounds about right.
Okay. I had heard, and I didn't do much research on it, that the second
They want us
administrative,
to observe administrators in other schools.
they want, yeah,
See, I would
there's
be
something coming down from the
just
state
how-
about additional
when
mandate.
am I gonna do that? I can
Not
do
just
it
you.
at 4 in the morning.
They sleep well.
No, they want, I believe they're looking to have an additional, a second observation done, like an APPR for administrators to be an outside consultant, so outside the school district for this second.
Yeah.
Correct. So you were speaking of unfunded mandates, and I wondered if that was,
Thank you.
if that was one.
We'll look forward to it.
But right now, in terms of observing the teachers, want to explain what Gene has to do? We have clearly.
Yeah, it falls that way. Do you want me to explain? It falls that way with both administrators and teachers in the APPR, where there has to be so many observations done by the principal, and then there has to be an independent evaluator, is what the regulations state. The same thing holds true for principals, that there needs to be a principal evaluation and by an independent evaluator. It does not, the independent evaluator does not need to be an administrator for the teachers. It could be another teacher, it could be another person from outside, an outside consultant firm. The same thing holds true for principals. It could be a principal doing the other principal, or in our case, because we're in two separate schools, or it could be an outside evaluator from BOCES, or we could pay for somebody else to come in. And different schools have done it in different ways.
How many observations of a teacher do you need to do during the year, so people understand? It's not
It
just
depends
one.
on the contract that is set up between the Teachers Association and the
At present.
district. So in different schools,
I'm talking about our school.
our school, we have to do 5
teacher.
per teacher, and then one of the independent ones. So we have to observe teachers 6 times
Per teacher you got in the school.
per the number of teachers in the school, along with non-tenured teachers get other evaluations also.
I observed the non-tenured for
Also.
at least the whole year.
So those are mandates that came up when the APPR was put forth. So we've been managing that within the
It's a
contract.
tremendous amount of observations. It's not that it's a bad thing, again, it's a good thing, but it's a tremendous.
But I just wanted to, when you hear those things, that there's going to be others, or they've not linked, which was a good thing, the test scores to the teachers through their APPR, that's continuing on for another year that we're aware of. Okay?
Basically, that's the only thing I'm going to talk about with the board report. I know related to BOCES, they are moving forward with a lot of good ideas, good programs. They are also looking by the end of next year to be in a new administration, not a new building, but a better administration building. They have so many complaints. I don't know if any of you have ever been up to Work Avenue, but it's a rapid maze.
It's not handicap
And it's not handicap accessible, and it's not people accessible.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Full-time adults with college degrees get lost in that building.
You gotta get breakfast.
I've never seen anybody. Anyway, so we rent that building, and BOCES does, and we are looking for another space, but we've asked for another year on our, I believe we end this June with our contract with them, and we've asked for another year, and in that period of time, we're looking for new admin space, it might be multi-use space too. Wouldn't have to be just admin, but we'll see. So, yes,
As a resident of Liberty,
yes.
the real estate agents would very much like to know where you were going to find a footprint.
Maybe they would find us the building then.
Well, unfortunately, you were a little too late for ruling. But I know as a resident of Liberty, if BOCES administration moves out of the village,
Yes.
it is going to have
Great.
a tremendous impact. I don't have to do the village, I'm
But yet, remodeling that building or repairing that building is exorbitant.
And I'm sure that Alan Murray doesn't want to invest.
No, who would
He
want
doesn't
to
need
build
it.
it? I wouldn't. I think, okay.
But there's, you know, it's the dominoes that we don't think about.
That's right.
That a very vital service for this entire county needs different space, and it will significantly impact a village and a town.
Interesting, yeah. And you don't think about that kind of.
Huge amount of traffic comes in to the village of Liberty because of the BOCES administration.
Sure, all the teachers that have trainings on that.
Huge.
If they can find the room.
Scanning.
Okay, we are up to public, nobody has questions for me, right?
Yes, I
I'm sorry. Okay, we're going to go to public comment now. Please stand if you're going to speak. Please tell us your name and your town, and go for it. Public comment. This is limited to the consent agenda. We have one more public comment at the end, in which you can go far and wide if you choose. So, commentary, please. Or anything you've heard of these board reports as well. It's a report. Yes, sir.
Rory Wade, Highland Lake. Anyone who's worked with young kids, they ask why repeatedly. It drives you crazy. Yes, they ask questions all the time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And just because we're older and wiser doesn't mean we shouldn't ask questions. I believe Dr. Magano said some numbers that the county population over the last 20 years or so has dropped 15.9% or something like that. And that it was very comparable for our school district.
Yeah, the whole county.
I have to question those numbers, because I think our enrollment at some point was around 700, and if it's down to about 540, that's a much greater drop than the 15% or so. So I'm just...
Well, it will be on the website tomorrow, the demographic study. We have all looked at it, I want to say, but to internalize it and be able to speak to exactly what you're saying right now, I have not gotten that far. If those who have read more want to
Well, I think
say something.
the number, I think he said 15.9% was the county population drop. Enrollment, okay. And the Eldred population drop was...
1990, the enrollment in the county was 10,898. In Eldred, it was 627 in 1990. You take that, it was 2016, 8,931 in the county, 546 here.
So
And
we're
those are the
546.
15.7.
excuse me, I thought I heard 15%.
There was a spike up before the drop, so
Okay.
their starting point was at 600, not
Okay.
the 700.
There might have been
so it
700
went up
before
and then-
that.
Okay.
That makes more sense now, too. Because I always had the old number at about 700.
That's on page 3 when you look at it online.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes?
Debbie Jennings, Lumberland. So Carol, if you could just clarify with me the increase in the cap. You said that it has to be for the budget, and then any additionals would get saved? So what are we expecting to increase our budget to
No, we
to
are
double
not.
the cap?
We are not increasing our budget. We are putting forth a very conservative budget, which we haven't done yet. And my understanding, this is my understanding, is that this tax exceeding the tax cap will give us more money to fund the present budget, which will be similar to last year's budget, because we're after we cut. And then when we have leftover, if we have leftover, if we don't spend all that we budget, which is very easy to do because we
So you
might
can
budget-
only put, I'm sorry, so if you're budgeting, let's just say 100,000, and you're asking for 500,000.
Well, I don't know that we're doing it.
I'm just throwing numbers, because you're telling me you increase the cap for the budget, It has to be used for the budget, and then if we have
We're
leftover,
exceeding the tax cap.
Correct.
So we're asking the public for 4%, 5.
right, which is more than it's more than double than the cap, because you're telling me it's 2.3, yep, so that's a difference of 262. So I'm just asking, so the way you stated it, I'm just asking for clarification. The way you stated it is that it would be, so are we saying our budget, in order to put that out there, is going to increase by that much, and then if we have leftover, that's what gets put away?
Well, it's not going to increase by that much, but I haven't given her budget numbers yet, because the first draft of the budget I usually provide to them at the first board meeting in February.
Okay.
I haven't given them any solid numbers on that yet, because I'm just starting to develop it myself.
So how did you come up with that percent?
It's not going to go up by 4.95%, because I already know that I'm going to have at least $70,000 less than transportation aid than I had originally anticipated, because we're going to go from 45.5% as our reimbursement rate
Correct.
down to 38.8%, and we have about $1 million in transportation expenses. I think it was $1,017,000, but
And
just
we cut
for-
700,000 out in
We did.
in
We did,
people.
absolutely.
So we should actually be coming in lower. And I'm not against okay, so we've mentioned it many, many times. I've brought it up in the past. You want to break the cap, that's great, fine. What are we giving? Are we giving something more to the students? Or what's the guarantee that that money's going to actually go in the fund balance? Is my question.
Yeah, and
Well, one of the expenses is going to be implementing the strategic plan. We haven't replaced textbooks the way we should. We haven't replaced equipment the way we should. If we go on a 5-year plan and renew a tractor, a vehicle for the transportation department, and just that alone is going to increase the budget. Or we can do what I think has occurred in the past, not address it, and in 5 years say, oh my God, we need 400 Chromebooks. That's not the way we run a business.
So in other words, the increase is going to be to put in the strategic plan.
That's one factor. Another factor, and I mentioned it before, is the cost of special education. When you talk about, gee, you might have 200,000 for the fund balance, that's 2 kids placed in a high-cost placement. And I don't begrudge them a dime of that, because, you know, if you have a child that's a severely autistic kid, they need that. But it's not cheap, and you have to plan for that. And we know we have at least one kid that's going to need a program next year that's not in it now. It's going to cost about $115,000, $120,000, maybe more. And we have to plan for that. So, and we have to have an elementary guidance counselor. Whether I have 2 days into BOCES, that may not be enough. We may have to hire a guidance counselor back. And of all the cuts I made, that was the one that I was the least comfortable.
And that wasn't elementary, that was high school.
Well, your statement of budgeting or tuitioning out our high school, yes, I have students here, and it's not cost effective, but at some point, we're not looking at cost, we're looking at what's best for our students, what can we give them? So my question goes to, if you're gonna increase the tax cap, are there gonna be any benefits to the kids? Like you say, and it is 100% true, in the elementary school, you have we have 1 teacher or 2 teachers per grade level, and that's how it works. But when you get to the high school, you have to have a certified teacher for chemistry, a certified teacher for biology, so you have a difference of what you can offer your students in the high school. And we are at the bare minimum. I'm sure we're aware, because we have made cuts that we had to make the survival rate of this school district. So what are we going to be? I mean, and it's fantastic. I'm a firm believer that not everybody has to go to college. Technical schools are a fantastic option for those kids, and I think the BOCES is great. I think that's great, but what are we offering our kids that want to go to college? Are we going to be expanding? Right now, currently, is the highest amount I have ever seen of study halls. No 7th and 8th grader ever had a study hall until this year. I've never seen 7th grade have study halls. And they have a study hall. We used to have, and I, call me crazy, but keyboarding was a mandated class that we, was it 7th grade? Okay, well, we had all our 7th graders take it. That was a class that's now gone. It's a program that you really run on a computer that doesn't really require a teacher.
You have to have a certified teacher.
But you have one in the room for a study hall.
I agree, I'm not saying that.
So
we
I'm just
shouldn't have one.
asking what we're gonna offer our students if we're gonna go out to the public and ask for a higher percentage.
We are not planning on maintaining any level just to maintain. We are looking, we're gonna add keyboarding, we are adding programs when we can afford them at a rate that we can afford them. We are not holding back from our students anything, and this program.
We're gonna buy more books. There's a book in the elementary, the language arts book, with Armadillo's name in it.
I believe that. But aren't most schools getting away from books and using more modern technology, and isn't that maybe
Software,
where we
yeah.
should be going?
Well, we are going,
Yeah.
in the strategic plan, that's why
Okay,
we're
well,
planning on that.
those are the
So,
questions
in other
I'm
words,
asking.
In order to maintain the state's standards for college, so that our kids graduate, as Ms. Maxim was just explaining, to many different college choices. As our kids go out into the world, we are trying to best prepare them for what they want to do. So if they want college, we're not saying, oh, don't do that, or we can't afford to educate you that way. Heck no. We are completely educating our students for college and preparatory. When we get recommendations from
They take
teachers.
a lot of college courses here.
We have tremendous college courses to help kids get ready for college and also to make it cheaper that first year because they get half their credits. But, so the point is, in maintaining, I don't want that to be a bad word, in maintaining the quality program that we have now, we're always looking for ways to add and teachers come to us and say, can we do this? And can we do archery? Or, that's just an example tonight, but, so they're always looking for ways to do that. And it is up to them, in some ways, to come to us with what they think will work with students and up to their principal. We're not saying no, but we're saying in order to maintain this viable option for school, we have to have money to pay for the excessive costs that come every year, the extra costs that come every year. So our budget, right now, if we didn't exceed the cap, we'd be struggling, scratching, hoping to put anything to fund balance
If we
next
had an
year.
unexpected expense, I'd have to
Boom.
take another cut.
Yeah, so this way.
So when
If I call
you
it
do
cushions,
present the budget, are you going to be able to present to us possibly what we think we might be putting back into the fund balance, provided there is not such an expense to occur?
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
We can do that, and then we can project that, what we think it will be, what it would be if the roof da-da-da.
And at the minimum, we're gonna maintain what we have class-wise, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I agree with you, study halls are a thing that need to be always looked at and offered as teachers, and what they can teach. I totally agree with you.
At the minimum, we do have to add a counselor at the elementary school,
Right now.
at the minimum for next year. So
I
already,
understand.
there's already an additional.
That I do understand.
I
I
had-
think at the minimum, we need more, but
I'll-
that's beside the point. I understand that we had to make cuts. I'm just asking,
And we have to
as a
be
parent and
honest.
as a taxpayer, if you want us to try to sell it to the public,
Right.
what are we trying to tell them?
Well,
That's
you make a
basically
good
what it
point.
comes down to.
You make a good point there too. I would really encourage those of you who hear this from us to speak the truth out there when you hear the rumors, because there's a lot of craziness, as there always is on Facebook and whatever, wherever, I don't know. But just,
But please
you know,
don't shy away from the social media, and as much as everybody hates it, it's where a lot of people deal. So if you guys get in front of it in that aspect, I think you'd be saving yourselves a lot of.
in front
you're
of
not
it
gonna
on social
see.
media. Do it
Yeah,
on our website.
most
but-
people don't go to it.
I know, but the trouble is, if I get on your Facebook and talk to you, you might agree with me, but then 20 people call me names and say it's, you're an evil
Well,
person or whatever. It's not worth it.
Yeah,
It's not
I'm very
worth it. It's
sorry
not
for that.
worth
I'm not talking you, but maybe just a general, and whether it not be Facebook. But it is a part of most people's lives, it's particularly not mine. I do follow it because it's the only way, when I'm on a bus going to work, that I can get in touch with anything. I mean, I haven't made a meeting since almost September because I can't. You know, sometimes my job is just in the way of it. And I think you guys are doing a great job. I really do. I'm more comfortable now than last year. No, I don't pander to anybody, but if you're gonna start comparing, well, this district to that district, you're gonna get your clocks clean. If you spell it just like you did with, hey, the demographic has changed, we have this, we're looking to get out ahead with the Chromebooks and stuff, I think this community will come back together and you'll get 4.5% just like that. You start getting into this district to that district, you're gonna get your hat handed to you and get sent on your way.
And that's a function of social media as well, because, you know, well, it's not even social media, it's old-fashioned media, but, you know, the sign down on the road coming up, you know, in front of Pete's or before Pete's or whatever it is, Cherry Hill, whatever you call it now, I don't know. But that sign makes it sound like, oh my God, we're spending $30,000 per kid. Well, yeah, we actually are, but that's in line, that's normal, that's right. And so it doesn't say that, so that people hear one thing and
Okay,
they're
but
like,
if you're gonna look for the tax benefit, if you're talking about Chromebooks, and I can understand buying a tractor, because if you keep fixing the broken tractor, you know,
Yes.
it makes good sense. And people will gravitate to that. I know the people around here.
And you know, the thing that needs to be said about what you're saying is that we do have a faculty and a maintenance staff and a secretarial staff that goes above and beyond. So often we're like, wow, like, look what they did and look what else they did and look what extra they did. And the teachers impress us all the time with that. So we're trying to go with those programs, you know, support those people as they work for us like that. So spread the good news, or at least spread the truthful news. Next, you had a question?
Yeah, first time you mentioned breaking the cap. My name is Pat Buckman, I'm from Highland Lake. Hi. You intimated that it was a one-time only deal. Now, that's not true. You can bust the cap every year. Am I
We could
correct?
try, but we don't plan to. So that's why I said one
Okay,
time.
but the way you said it, you presented it, this is just going to happen this one time. We're going to do it just this one time. That's not real.
Well, it's...
Because you can come next year to us and say, oh, now we have this, and now we have, I mean, you're presenting all kinds of
Okay, I
things,
see.
you're putting it on the table.
Sure.
We
I
don't
see
know
what you
for
mean.
next year.
I see what you mean, and sometimes I do get a little over-enthusiastic in my statements. So I'm sorry about that. Yes, we could bring it to you next year and say, oh my gosh, now we have this, this, and this, and we need it again.
Exactly.
In my understanding, this will even us out. So we will be on an even keel with a cushion. That's my understanding. But I have to keep saying my understanding because then I get misunderstood, so.
Well.
Sorry.
I mean, it could happen again in 8 years, but it's not gonna happen again in 1 or 2 years.
Well, that's a point that we would like to know, because if we thought that every year this is going to come up again, certainly nobody's going to want to vote for it.
Sure.
I certainly would not.
It's not going to occur again for a number of years.
Provided none of those circumstances come up that you're talking about.
Well, that's part of the cushion.
That's part of what we're designing right now, is to look forward to that stuff.
I mean, if you read
That's
my
why we're-
response to the controller, my plan was to increase the cap this year and do a bond the following year. We need a bond for a couple of things. This building needs a roof. That's about $400,000. The high school needs a generator for obvious reasons. I thought the power would be consistent. We already lost 2 days this year.
We did.
And that building needs a generator. You and I spoke about what a generator costs. It's like $400,000. It's outrageous.
But it's also.
So the bond gets voted on too?
The bond is already in the budget. We already have a bond.
We have a bond,
There'll
and
be
that's
a bond coming off.
The bond coming off and one going on. It's already budgeted.
A flat tax impact.
In other words, if we let the bond go where the bond is done, then our tax impact would be greater than if we have another bond to replace it. So it's actually better.
And you
There
also
will no,
have
there'll be
that-
no tax impact is what you're saying, so
We
we'll
don't
only
have
need
to-
this
One,
impact.
in terms of the bond, there's one will be coming off,
Okay.
although it comes on, it equal that.
And I asked that question, Deb, when you stood up a couple months ago and said that you were gonna ask for a tax cap and a bond. I should have known right then and there to say, no, the bond is already in the budget. We already have a bond. One's coming off, one will go back on next year. That's gonna be no impact on the taxes. This year will be a cap, that's it. And projecting out, looking forward, we should not have to pop the cap for a few years.
So are you presenting what the bond is supposed to take care of too, so that
Next
public
year.
knows?
Next year.
Oh, you won't present that till next year?
Because we still have to.
We still
But I
have,
gave you an idea of a couple of the big things.
Yeah, those were the big ticket
What
items.
about the side of the,
And a generator.
the upper field is falling apart in the back?
Well, one of
Completely.
the things Kim and I spoke about today was,
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just
when you
asking.
go to a football game, you shouldn't have to stand at the fence and watch. the
No, but if you walk the track and you are on the back side of the track where,
Yes.
no, but besides that, if you are on the back side of the track, that big retaining wall that holds it up is completely cracked and separated by a good amount. And provided we continue to get the wonderful weather that we have been getting for the last year, it seems, or maybe more,
Since I got it.
I don't know how long you will have that withstand. It's actually cracked the track.
Those are the things that have to be addressed.
I'm just asking because I think as a public person, you would want to know if that would be in the bond, that's all.
Those are things you can't take out of your regular budget because they're.
Absolutely, I'm not disagreeing with you.
So those are the kinds of things we're looking to take care of.
have to wear
We have a
belts.
question over that way.
I could add to the study halls. I'm Heather, if you don't know me, and I work for the school, and I have 2 kids in the district, and I live in Glens Bay. The master schedule wasn't designed with study halls for 7th and 8th graders. 7th and 8th graders in a study hall right now would only be every other day if they don't participate in band and chorus, because we have one music teacher. And we don't have study halls, we have study skills classes, and the kids right now are benefiting from a teacher with a PhD teaching them study skills. Reading, word processing, they're on the computer, they're learning how to take notes, they're doing projects. And in the study hall periods, if they have work to make up, they've gone to various locations in the building. Lisa Marie has taken kids and helped them with projects. They'll go down to Mrs. Dolan, their TA in the ALC room. So it wasn't a master schedule where you sat down and said, hey, 7th and 8th graders, would you like a study hall every single day? And they said yes. The other exception is if a parent refuses AIS services.
The AIS instruction.
And that,
And
we
we are
didn't
in
have it designed
compliance
in the
now
schedule
with
until we
AIS.
had so many parents refuse AIS services. And all you have to do, it doesn't matter if your kid scored a 1 or a 2 on the state assessments. If you say, I do not want my kid in AIS,
Then they don't get the service.
they don't get it. Well, now they're in a study hall. So that's the alternative. It wasn't something built in the schedule to say, would you like this free period every day? It's parent choice and student choice to not do band and chorus.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Very much for that. And that's the inside track that you kind of have to hear from inside the building, so to speak.
And the fact that 7th and 8th graders must have, they must generate credit in music. And they can do that either in a performance group, or the alternative is Music in Our Lives, which we are not offering this year, because we can't, because we have a reduction in staff. Fortunately, Mr. Nivison has a very large instrumental program, and the majority of the rest of the 7th and 8th graders choose to take chorus. But as Heather so brilliantly explained, it's not study hall. It's either study skills for our non-AIS kids, or our kids who qualify under the state regs are getting AIS.
What is AIS?
AIS is Additional Instructional Services. It is a mandated program, however, we must offer it. However, it is a program that parents may choose to opt out of. Just as now, unfortunately, they can opt out of taking the state assessments, which hurts us, not just academically, but every other way that you can think of. It's an early warning system, and it works. And that early warning system was specifically designed at 4th grade and 8th grade. Those are the two benchmarks. And while there are some invalidity issues with the state assessments, as predictors, they're accurate. The earlier we offer the intervention, the better it is for the child's overall performance. And if we want to talk about money, it's less expensive the earlier we do it. Because when you now, in the last year of AIS services is 9th grade, because it's based on the 8th grade test. And if a child at 8th grade is a level 1 or 2, that tells us that there may be issues for them to meet the 9-12 Regents requirements, which are much stiffer than anything anybody in this room had ever experienced if they went to a New York State public school. And AIS is the beginning of that. And it is truly unfortunate that all of our children do not sit for the test. And I personally believe that when this group of children, they're not there yet, but they're working their way through the system, they're going to arrive as freshmen, never having sat for a state assessment. And they don't have a choice as freshmen. They must take Algebra 1 Regents. And they're going to have to sit for the Algebra Regents. They can't graduate without it. It's a minimum 2-hour test. It's longer than what they sit for with the state assessments.
So people have the right to opt out, but we're encouraging people to come to the state assessments the same way we're encouraging people to come to school every day. Because there's a letter about opting out. It's not that it isn't legal or anything like that. You can choose to opt your students out. That will not change. But we are not encouraging anybody to do that. And as far as attendance, we did mention that we lost $70,000, wasn't it? That was the number for transportation.
Aid, yeah.
For transportation aid due to our attendance on the buses. $70,000 lost from the kids not coming to school. So that's why we're more aware this year. We're speaking up. It's not, it's always a big thing.
We buy 570 lunch boxes, saving $8,000.
Oh, that was all. Carol, Caleb might be able to explain, you said
That had
just because of.
3 factors, it wasn't just